You know, we've waited a really long time for another 007 film.
That's what we've been waiting for, hasn't it?
Yeah, and the fact that they've announced one and they've cast Nicolas Cage, I'm just like...
Could you imagine?
I am over the moon. I would ship bricks. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I would be excited or mortified or what would he would eat. Honestly, though, hang on. So, no. And humor me for a second here.
I'll try.
Don't picture like typical ridiculous quirky Nicolas Cage. Picture Nicolas Cage in the best that's actually
not,
good.
Right, not Con Air.
Not Con Air.
Yeah. Okay.
Not most of everything else he's done. But like but picture like either, whether it's Gone in 60 Seconds or National Treasure. Like picture one of those things, or Knowing. I don't know if you've seen Knowing.
I have, yeah.
Picture something where you're like, "Oh, that was actually a pretty," or Pig. Picture Pig.
Pig, yes.
Right? Where it's like a legit performance.
Raising Arizona.
Now, let's say I get my way and Tom Hardy is the new 007. Right?
Okay.
I don't think Nicolas Cage as a Bond villain is off the table. No, really though.
Definitely not.
Because a Bond villain has to have like the over-the-top quirkiness, personality defect. Like that is a Bond villain.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's got some legs.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome to the Movie Men podcast. I am Peter. The Nicolas Cage pusher is Brady. And what we have been waiting a long time for is two things. One.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Or okay.
No, please.
Free healthcare in Canada to actually become free healthcare and not just us paying for our taxes and thinking it's free healthcare.
No, but that would be good.
That would be phenomenal. National Treasure 3.
Oh, that's true. Okay, that is another issue. That is not what we've been waiting for. It is, but not what I was going to ask about.
And the 3D re-release in IMAX of Titanic.
Oh, hot diggity. Yeah. That'd be
so. I mean, those are two things we've been waiting for. I don't know where
those are two things we've been waiting for, but I can't answer that tonight. That will not be what's going on tonight. The two things that we've been waiting for that we will address tonight. The first is we are addressing Mission Impossible. As those who can read and clicked listen on this episode can tell, we are finally getting around to the Tom Cruise iconic franchise.
Wait a second.
This is episode 1.
How many people do you think have clicked on this episode that can't read? Like just out of curiosity. Like, I know there's people out there who can't read, but do you think they're stumbling upon this podcast?
Quite possibly.
It's all I have in the world. Yeah, okay.
The other thing, which is more emotionally impactful for us as the movie men, is having a guest on the show. A guest on the show who was supposed to be here so long ago. He was supposed to be here for The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. 2019. And technical issues pushed that off. A pandemic pushed that off. All of us being busy human beings pushed that off. But tonight we are finally here in person to talk film with the one and only Zack.
Wait, you guys are in person?
No, but it sounded cooler.
We are emotionally in person.
Yes.
We are experiencing a large amount of togetherness.
Yeah.
Welcome, Zack.
Zack was going to do The Last Jedi with us.
He was.
I wrote a crazy book full of notes. I was ready to tell the world why, it's the best Star Wars movie of my lifetime. And, they shut me down. Kathleen Kennedy stopped it, blackballed.
So wait, did we cancel or did you?
No, I was literally, I think I came on, this is probably extremely boring for your listeners. I was literally on the Zoom and we just couldn't get it working from a technical standpoint, which I think came very close to maybe happening again tonight. And eventually, I think you guys, because I think it was, again, super boring for your listeners, but I think it was the beginning of the pandemic, so you guys, I don't think you'd figured out the virtual records yet, and I was extremely virtual.
Yeah,
so it was to make it even more boring. Yeah, so
wait. Are you gonna
what?
No, are you going to say it wasn't Zoom? It was something that, for contractual reasons, I won't say what it was, and for PTSD, me remembering us using that software, I'm not going to say what it is. But continue, Brady.
Yeah. So
no, this is the pulse pounding content people want from the Mission Impossible podcast. Can you imagine? You can't read. You're just clicking on podcasts at random. You get this.
Yeah.
Just put it down.
It's called Source. It's called Source Connect now. I'll just come out and say it.
Is it ever?
And unless those dicks want to sponsor us, the free version, I have no doubt that if you dish out money for the premium version, it honestly it sounds like it solves a lot of it is probably the go-to thing to use. But if you're cheap, poor. Yeah, and I don't even think we didn't even have a Patreon set up at that point.
No, that was the early days.
And so we were using the free version, and the free version is shit. It's crummy. But no, so just out of curiosity, then, Zach, would you have given a positive or a negative review for The Last Jedi?
Positive. I'm a big fan.
All right.
Yeah. I listened to your episode. It was good. I mean, if you guys were more open-minded than I was worried you would be. But yeah, I really, I really quite like that movie. I like most Star Wars movies to varying degrees. Even the ones that I think are objectively bad, like Phantom Menace. There's a nostalgia. I'm into George Lucas's vision, that crazy bastard, getting to do, making essentially the world's most expensive independent films, which are basically what those movies are. Yeah. So I'm into the vision. Rise of Skywalker was probably the first one Star Wars movie that I just wish didn't happen. But
whoa,
that's the Star Wars. That's the Star Wars podcast. But don't like that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, as Pete alluded to by coming out and saying it directly, we are doing the Mission Impossible series. So there is a Mission Impossible movie coming up and out in theaters. And as is our way to sometimes do when there's a movie coming up, we look at it and we go, there's a lengthy back catalog here. Let's stress ourselves out and try to schedule in an episode for all of the pre-existing movies. That way, when we go see the new movie, we're fresh and caught up and ready to go. We've done that a few times. We did that with, we did all of Harry Potter. We did it with Star Wars. We did it with all of Harry Potter and then the Fantastic Beasts, and then we were all caught up and ready to go there. We did it with James Bond, although James Bond was a little bit of because of COVID delays, we were doubling up, tripling up, quadrupling up some weeks just to try to we're not going to make it. And then we made it by about 9.5 months. So that was something. But I bring up 007 specifically because we did something unique in our 007 series that we have not done since. Which was we had 8 categories that we ranked the film on. We kind of broke it down by category, and we would give the film a score from 0 to 10 in each category. And then we would average up all those. Instead of pulling a number out of thin air for our ranking, we would average up all those numbers, and that would give us, we figured out that this was the most objective way of figuring out, which Mission Impossible movie was our favorite Mission Impossible movie. Because if we stick to the chart, then in theory, that's, it was about as objective as we could get. Or as reliable as we could get. And a lot of those categories kind of carry over nicely into Mission Impossible. Now, we've had to make a couple of alterations to a few of them. Obviously, there's no portrayal of Bond. There's no Bond song. And there's no Bond girl. But we do have the categories.
You could just rate, for song, you could just rate different versions of the theme. Theme.
Possibly. So what we've got laid out here is these are our 8 categories. We've got plot. We've got Tom Cruise's performance.
We do.
We've got the villain. We've got gadgets, use of gadgets. We have fights / action. We have romantic interest. We have supporting characters, and replacing the Bond song, we have the intro sequence. Because there's always like that, 5-minute scene before the iconic music starts. And like right now, there's no point in ranking the music because the Mission Impossible intro just gets a 10 out of 10. Like it's iconic. It's fun. It reminds you instantly of what you're watching. It's like saying how would I rank the opening credits of Star Wars? Well,
good.
Yeah, good. Very good.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. Goosebump inducing every time. Yeah.
This is about grading the hook. How does the hook get us at the beginning?
Yeah. So those are our categories. And we're going to go through each one by one. And we'll lay out our score, and then we'll give a little bit of support for that, why we gave it that score, and then we'll move on to the next one, and when all is said and done, we'll reveal our final score for this film. So are you gentlemen ready?
Our mission? Should we choose to accept it?
Yeah. This podcast will self-destruct in 5 seconds. So.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll kick things off with the plot category.
Sure.
I gave the plot a 7 out of 10. And listen, the reason I did this is because I think 7 out of 10 is very respectable. It could certainly be a lot lower. It could be higher. The reason I didn't go higher was twofold. One, if I came to you and I said, hey, you know that spy movie where the issue at hand is there's a list with all of the agents' true identities on it, and it's going to fall into the wrong hands? Do you know that one? What is the name of that one? You would come up with a list of 17 films. And so...
I maybe think Mission Impossible even goes back to that as an idea.
It might
certainly
be
love their MacGuffins.
Yeah.
It's like, what if there's a bad thing that the bad guys get? And we have got to prevent it.
Yeah, exactly. So this one was just like a little, okay, I've seen a Bond film do this. Which film was that? Was that Skyfall or something?
Gosh. Something similar in Skyfall.
Yes. Because, Bardem is a former agent, and he's burning other agents.
Yeah, so Skyfall did it, and then That's true. There's been... Because I know when I saw Skyfall, and they did that seemed like a tired trope to me. So I know that there's, several movies that have done this. But they did make it a little unique in that... it was a mole hunt. They didn't follow the formula the same way that I've seen it done every other time. And so in doing this mole hunt, they actually created that was actually the catalyst that led to Ethan stealing it anyways. So, that was kind of interesting. So but that was the one reason I gave it a slightly lower score. The other reason I didn't give it an 8 or a 9 was the plot becomes perfectly clear and fairly easy to follow once it's revealed that it was a mole hunt. But something for me, and maybe this is just me, but it's my score, so screw you. The initial mission briefing, the initial setting up that first operation that they were on, I felt like I was only 75% following along. I was there for the ride. I understood enough to be able to enjoy it, but it kind of felt, you'd be watching a movie sometime, like you might be watching like a Tom Clancy movie, or even some of the 007 ones, the older 007 films, where it's so entangled in like espionage jargon and military, like governmental military, this, that, and the other thing, that you're like, look, I don't know what all this means, and I don't fully right? Instead of just saying this guy's trying to get his hands on this list, you've like lined up a couple of buyers and this and that, and the Soviet this, and I'm just like, yeah. So for the first like 15-20 minutes of the film, I would say I was like 25% lost, but then it all kind of became clear. So all in all, it's a great plot. I just felt like there was a couple of like trimming the fat moments that could have happened, but that's my score for plot, 7 out of 10.
Perfect. Zach, you go next. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, look, I'm going to be boring and give the same score as Brady, a 7 out of 10. I think, great audio. Okay. I think that, like a lot of Mission Impossible movies, the plot is functional. The plot, and I literally, you can look this up. This was filmed, the main screenwriter on this film was David Katz, who's like, a very well-established Hollywood writer. He wrote Jurassic Park. He's wrote all kinds of stuff. He's a good, functional writer, and he basically said that Brian De Palma brought him in and was like, look, I have some ideas for a scene. I want him to be hanging from a ceiling. I want him to fight on a bullet train. And I want the whole team to get murdered at the beginning. And, you get me there. Get me the middle part.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that is essentially the way Mission Impossible movies are written today, with Tom Cruise now Tom Cruise is sort of, the main auteur of the franchise, is like, I would like to hang from the world's tallest building. Make a movie where that happens. And so, we love it. That's why you're here for these movies. I think, I think this is, the directors of the Mission Impossible movies are really interesting. I think that'll be a fun thing for you to track with the series, because they basically, this is Tom Cruise at like peak Tom Cruise is the first movie. Like, he's in the 90s, he's a big star. He's only works with the greatest directors in the world at this point. He's just about to go, make Eyes Wide Shut with Stanley Kubrick, which he's going to shoot for 2 years. So he's a big deal. He wants to be respected as an artist, but this is him in blockbuster mode. But he's he can throw his weight around, and he wants, Brian De Palma, who, director of Scarface, of Blowout, sort of a classic, maker of Hitchcockian, but more perverted thrillers. And so, but all of these, for a while, it's a new director on every film. So you get De Palma for this, you get John Woo for the second one, coming in from, his classic Hong Kong films. You get a more action-oriented, movie for that. And then, you get J.J. Abrams, making his first film in 3, and setting out the J.J. Abrams template. And then you get Brad Bird making his first non-animated movie for the 4th one. And then at that point, Christopher McQuarrie takes over the franchise and is the first guy to direct multiple ones. And he is basically, what he does is he takes these 4 really different movies and is like, okay, like all of these things are very separate. What are like the common plot threads? Like, who is Ethan Hunt as a character based on these 4 really different movies? And he starts writing towards that. And he also, again, Tom Cruise wants to hang on to a 747 while it takes off, so he writes that in there too. But I think this movie is kind of interesting in that it was sort of, this is not necessarily intended to be a franchise. It's an adaptation of a TV show, which a lot of people don't know. They basically take nothing from the TV show besides like mask and this message will self-destruct in 5 seconds, and the theme song, and something that you would absolutely never do today if you were adapting something is they make the main character of the TV show, Jim Phelps, the villain of the movie, which you simply wouldn't, in today's IP era, you simply wouldn't do that. You wouldn't make the main character of the TV show the bad guy and introduce a new cool character played by Tom Cruise who's going to take over the franchise from here on out. Right. But they do that. It's really interesting. But Quarry basically focuses in on the fact that at the beginning of this movie, Tom Cruise Ethan Hunt loses his whole team, and he never really gets over that trauma, and he's always, from this point on, it's about he can't let another person die on his watch, even if he has to, hang from a tall building, have a fight on a nuclear bomb. He literally in the latest movie lets terrorists get away with a nuclear bomb rather than let one member of his team die. So, I mean, I think retroactively this becomes interesting, but I mean, De Palma's here so he can do weird angles, and Tom Cruise can show off his close-up magic skills, and we can have, 2 or 3 absolutely banger set pieces. But the plot gets us to that, but it's going to be a while before the franchise sort of starts actually retroactively constructing its story. But, this is it's a twisty sort of spy thriller. It has some parts that I think really work, and I'll get into what I don't think totally works in another category. But, yeah, I would say totally functional, but, you get some great sequences that are one of, the best suspense directors Hollywood has ever produced, really wilding out. I mean, it's eventually this is quite a low-key movie compared to where the franchise will go, but it's entertaining. And, you get to see Tom Cruise in full movie star mode, and you get to see Brian De Palma doing, his weird split diopter shots and crazy canted angles. And, in the weird restaurants that are mostly a fish tank for some reason. It's good stuff.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So 7 out of 10. But yeah, no, I echo that in so many ways. Like literally nowadays, it seems, Tom Cruise is like, look, I want to time travel. Like not my character. Like Tom Cruise, want to time travel. Can we write that into something?
The audience will love it. We got to do it real or they don't believe.
It's got to be authentic. It's got to be authentic.
I'll bring cameras with me, and the ancient Egyptians will, they'll appreciate it immensely.
The people I always feel bad for in this scenario are the cameramen who, because Tom Cruise wants to jump out of a train or a plane or some other moving vehicle, they also have to do it.
They all have to do it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete, 0 to 10, how would you rank the plot?
Oh, both of you have made some really good points. And the interesting thing is just, it's fascinating how many different directors are involved, and we'll go through that in this series. But I think I just assumed there would have been a lot more carryover earlier on, but that's an interesting little tidbit. I gave the plot a 6 out of 10. You know what? It was fine. Like you guys said, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't the best. I'm assuming these films improve over time. I felt like this was a good enough plot. It worked. It got us to where we needed to go. It got some fun things on the screen. But at the end of the day, it was, a little bit like of an obligatory, okay, I have to watch this one to get to maybe some of the better Mission Impossibles. But ultimately, it was easy to follow. It did have some twists and turns, except for I don't really quite understand the logistics of how that ambiguous 1996 Bible chat room worked and how Tom Cruise kind of got the bait out. And it was just kind of like, okay, 90s kind of chat room investigating. Good
Spy
enough.
Government internet.
He's going to go on the internet. The kids are going to love it. He's going to do some hardcore Usenet search. So he's a spy.
Yeah, there was, I was just like, whatever, it's the 90s, I'll live with this. But some of the dated tech and the mid-90s action soundtracks were a bit lame. But, I mean, the iconic moments of, the face mask ripping off and iconic things. So, 6 out of 10, very serviceable plot, wasn't bad. But I look forward to the things to come, I think.
All right. So next category is Tom Cruise performance. I gave this an 8 out of 10, which, listen, may surprise. Yeah, see, there you go. May surprise some people because I have historically. I mean, I feel like this isn't even true anymore. But for a long while, I was a Tom Cruise hater. I looked down on the guy both professionally and probably physically if I were to meet him face to face. But I'm saying that as a 5'7" person. But no, I saw a lot of carryover in this from Top Gun, just in the sense that he's kind of got that maverick, the rules don't apply to me. I've been told to abort the mission, but the package is in the open. I'm going to go for it kind of thing. But I really bought, Ethan Hunt in this film is hit with a lot of holy shit moments. Like, whether it be the one by one death of his crew, or it being, the reveal of our villain, or just like any number of like sort of high emotional moments. And I don't know, something about his performance. It was fun to watch. He inhabited not only the character, but sort of, it's no surprise to me after watching him in this role that someone somewhere said, "Hey, let's make 6 more." And so, yeah, no, I don't have much more to say about it. It's an 8 out of 10. I mean, nobody else has played this role, so I'm not really comparing it to, I'm not comparing it to others. It's not like I'm sitting here going like, oh, it's compared to Sean Connery's Ethan Hunt, or what's his name?
Roger Moore.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it's like the Roger Moore or the Timothy Dalton. But yeah, so, it's just, 8 out of 10. He was good. He was entertaining. I didn't find myself distracted by his one front tooth too often. It's an 8 out of 10 for me. What about you, Zach?
You know what? I am going to go ahead and, well, first let me say, like, Tom Cruise, I think, probably, to my mind, has a good claim on being our greatest living movie star. I think, there are 2 people who maybe can challenge him for it's. He's got the movies, he's got the art. I would say, Denzel Washington, Tom Hanks, probably other 2 guys in the race. But in terms of like box office success and just prolonged career and just being a human charisma machine, who, with no concept that or fear of death, he's the guy. So that said, I'm going to give him a 7 here because, grading on a curve, I think he's going to get a lot better over the course of the franchise. He's very good here. But I think he is literally going to go off and make 2 years for the next 2 years. He's going to go off. He's going to make a Stanley Kubrick movie. He's going to give maybe his best ever performance in Magnolia. After that, I think he's going to come out of the other side of that a better actor, and find new places to take this part. He doesn't quite have that crazy gleam in his eyes that I love about late period Ethan Hunt. And I would, he also, it falls on him to sort of sell the film's, to partially sell the film's romance, and I think he struggles there. We'll get to that, but I don't think he finds the chemistry with Emmanuel Barrett. He's just doing some movie star ticks. So the thing with where he's doing magic, making the disc disappear, is a silly bit. You can tell he probably worked really hard on it, wanted to work it into the film. But it's goofy. But that said, you need a man who can deliver the physical performance of hanging by a wire in a white room, and look totally at place doing this impossible stunt. You need a man who can, who looks like he understands, the exact physics of how he can jump on a helicopter, lay an explosive, and use that explosive to blow himself back onto a moving train. Those are hard things for an actor to sell, and you know, Tom Cruise sells those kind of things better than just about anybody. So yeah, I think he's very good. It's hard to imagine. It's certainly hard to imagine anyone else in the part, but I think by the end of the franchise, he's going to be totally owning this role. So I want to give you guys room to grow.
I do agree that in a world of actors, we have very few. Like, gone are the days of the movie star. Gone are the days of the Hollywood star. And now we kind of just live in a world of actors. Like, we don't see them as these like next level entities almost anymore. And there are a few that still fall into that category. Leonardo DiCaprio probably being one of them. And yeah, definitely Tom Cruise fits that.
Yeah. The way I would sort of define like the movie stardom of at least, you know, my youth and a bit before my youth, like, you can just make a movie where the pitch is Tom Cruise has a job. You know, Tom Cruise is a cocktail waiter. Tom Cruise is a fighter jet pilot. Yep. You know, with a lot of, you know, movies, you know, a lot of the current sort of generation movie stars, like, you know, Chris Pratt is Star-Lord, and we watch him when he's Star-Lord, but we're not really interested in you know, his indie movies necessarily. He doesn't open a movie automatically by being Chris Pratt. He opens a movie by being Star-Lord or Jurassic World guy that we all love.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say just Tom Cruise is, you know, and some of those other, there's definitely other folks like that still, who can, you know, open a movie based on their name, but it's a shrinking group.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it literally, there's probably a boardroom out there where someone's like, okay, I have an idea. Tom Cruise goes to buy an ice cream, but the ice cream store is closed. And then some powerful executive says, I love it. Go write it.
Is he going to run? Yeah. He's going to do the run with the arms pumping to get the ice cream?
Yeah,
how much budget do you need? Yeah.
Go. All right, Pete, what do you think about Tom Cruise's performance in this?
Well, I have to say, it was an interesting 1996 for Tom Cruise, being both in Mission Impossible and Jerry Maguire, cracking two films that cracked the top 10 grossing. So, I mean, he's definitely on the scene here. I'm in the same camp as you guys, maybe a bit critical. I didn't dislike his performance. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I'm again, kind of like I said in the plot, I'm expecting bigger and better as we go on. I'm still trying to learn about what I feel about Tom Cruise, his career. I feel like there's some early stuff I appreciate, and there's some later stuff I appreciate, and it's where in the middle that it kind of takes off that I'm really trying to get my finger on the pulse of finding what I appreciate and what was kind of so-so. And this one was kind of in the so-so category. He was fine. There was just a couple times like I almost found him manic, where like his love interest, Claire, at the time, I guess they weren't quite love interests. I'm not really clear. But she comes back and, you know, he's kind of like yelling at her. And I didn't find it just, instead of like being pent up emotion, I just found it like screaming. And so there's a few times where I just wasn't really completely buying what he was doing. And it just did feel a bit forced. But I have hopes for it to come up to a higher level. And I think, again, as the series goes on, as he's matured in his career, and that I know he gets to in other films and more present day of having a better acting chops, or at least more that I appreciate, I'm anticipating that 6 will become a higher number as we go on. So a 6 out of 10 wasn't bad, wasn't amazing.
Cool. All right. So category 3 is villains. Or the villain. I gave this an 8 out of 10. I mean, it's a fun twist that you maybe start to see coming a little bit, or you can kind of suspect, but also I feel like for a first-time watch, they do a good job of making it feel like an oh wow moment. especially then when it's not just him, but I'm blanking the character's name.
Claire?
Claire. When Claire's in on it too, right? But really, because you kind of come to like, there's that first moment in the safe house where Claire shows up and our guard is up. We kind of don't know, like, what's the deal? But then I feel like they do a really good job of selling you on, oh, no, she's one of us and we're supposed to like her and trust her and all of this stuff. But the main villain, he's Jon Voight. I mean, I don't know what else to say. John, name a Jon Voight, like Trump endorser or not, name a Jon Voight role that you don't think Jon Voight is fantastic in, right? So yeah, he was good. I do think it's a fun. So yeah, he's the main character of not only the 60s, 1966, 7 Mission Impossible TV series, but also the one from the 80s. They kind of brought him back. They did like a revival, a short-lived revival in the 80s. But yeah,
and that was played by Peter Graves from Airplane.
Both times.
His big role, yes.
Both times.
Interesting.
Who refused to come back, who I believe they offered him the part, and he refused to come back and was very grumpy about the movie, making his character the bad guy.
Interesting.
Oh, well, get over it. I think...
Take the money, man.
I do think there would have been something special about him coming back for this. Sort of in the same vein as much as I'm not a fan of the 21 and 22 Jump Street movies, the moment when Johnny Depp shows up as Tom Hansen from the 90s, like that's a fun moment when you sort of acknowledge that this is within the same, because instantly that would have made it the same continuity. In a sense, right? You would have kind of gone, "Oh, holy crap! Like the TV shows are canon. Like this is kind of a cool moment." I mean, the fact that they weren't able to, you can't go wrong with Jon Voight, at least from his acting standpoint. And yeah, so it's fun. I think it's a great reveal. I really love, I'm going to talk about it here because there's not really another category to talk about it in, but I think maybe plot, but I think it was masterful when the two of them are sitting in the diner. And are they in the diner? No, they're back at the safe house. They're back at the safe house.
Yeah, safe house.
And what we're seeing in flashbacks is not the same as what, like, Tom Cruise is going along with it.
Right.
But in his head, he's piecing it together. And what we're seeing is him piece it together while really he's stringing he's stringing Jim along.
Sure.
Because it's not the right moment. He's not in a position to reveal that he knows. And so that I really like, as sort of as someone who's made short films myself, and someone who as a kid all I wanted to do was make movies, I really, really, really respected that creative decision. I thought that was so fun. It was so well done. And yeah, so it's good. He's cold-hearted the way he then turns around and shoots Claire. Like he's a true villain. And yeah, I think he rocked this role. And he doesn't need a complex background. Some of our more famous villains in history have these really deep emotional backstories with these strong motives, right? So taking a look, I'll take an example from DC and an example from Marvel. In DC, the most recent for like the last 25 years now, but the origins of Mr. Freeze, right? He's hell-bent. He's willing to do anything possible to save his wife, Nora, right? And that is his motivation. That is his conviction. An example from Marvel would be Magneto from the X-Men. He believes in his cause. What makes Magneto so scary as a villain is that he doesn't think he's a villain, right? He believes in his cause, and what he's doing is fighting for the survival of all mutants. And that makes him a powerful foe. But in these types of movies, like in 007 films, there was never... Well, no, that's not true. In the Daniel Craig ones, there were some with some pretty rich... Specifically, the guy... Was it... I'm missing the actor's name now. He's like Latin American. The guy that was missing like half his face.
Oh, the Skyfall.
Bardem. Silva.
Yeah, Bardem.
Silva.
Javier Bardem. Yeah. He had some like deep-rooted conviction and motives and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But in these spy thriller type things, I don't really think we need villains that have super rich motives, right? That's like the whole spy trope, right? And what the Austin Powers series drew through with Dr. Evil, right? Sometimes someone's just a dick who wants to take over the world and is out for personal gain. Now, he did have some, right? He kind of monologues for a bit, and he says, it was going to lead to this eventually anyways. Like he's was an agent. He was a good guy, but somewhere down the road, he's gotten twisted and led astray, and his motives have changed. But he also probably believes that what he's doing is for the best in some way. But yeah, all in all, 8 out of 10. I loved the villain. No complaints from me. Zack.
I basically agree with all you said. I think, I think Voight is a little bit on autopilot here. He's never bad, he's somewhat of a villain in real life, but Voight is never bad, but I think he's doing, basic Jon Voight villain performance. I think when he gets to give that monologue where he's, where he's talking about himself, but not really talking about himself, where he lays up that he's been doing this for years, he hasn't got ahead, and, he's something like the president of the United States is out there running the country without my permission, essentially. I think Voight is great. He's a great actor. When you give him, good stuff, he's very good. He's not in the movie a ton by nature of the structure of the plot. He's pretending to be dead for a lot of it. He is eventually revealed to be pretty cold-hearted. Voight does that well, so he's villainous, but the villain, he's not really the focal point of the character. And I think again, if we're grading on a curve, we are going to get better villains for this franchise later. I think Mission Impossible 3 has one of the great villain performances of all time, in my opinion. There's bigger stuff to come, I think, in the franchise, and I like John Harris in the later movies as well. So I'm going to give it a 6, but I'm also going to say I'm going to bump it up to 6.5 because I want to spend just a short period of time talking about not really the villain, but a character that appears all these times in the movie. A version is the officious boss who disavows Tom Cruise and played by Kittredge, played by Canadian actor Harry Cerny, who I think is just fabulous in this film. He's that over-enunciated performance, that disdain he approaches with every scene. It's so precise. I guess you're responsible then. That sort of thing he does. As you say, there's no one else to blame. It's a really fun performance. You hate the guy so much the whole time through, and he gets to give one of which is like a total cliche in action films, but it's like my favorite thing. I love it every time it happens, where one of the characters is constantly talking about how badass our main character is. It's like, you could drop Ethan Hunt naked from a helicopter in the middle of Alaska, and he would come, and 2 days later, he'd be back in New York wearing a $2,000 suit with $100 in his pocket, and he'd punch you right in the face. This guy is, we can't stop him. He's so much better than us. And he gives a lot of those speeches, and he sells the heck out of it. So, I'm going to bump villain to a 6.5 for Kittredge. I'm very excited that Kittredge is back in the new Mission Impossible after being gone for 6 films, I think. So, I guess 5 films. So we get to find out what Kittredge has been up to, because I've been wondering.
I do think it's fair to say that Jon Voight is at his prime when he is freaking out because he's just realized that the piece of parchment on his dining room table is the Declaration of Independence, and all other roles fall somewhere slightly south of that.
But what's a great Jon Voight villain performance? Anaconda.
Oh yeah,
he's the most over the top. He's one of the most unhinged performances an actor has ever given. I love it. He's doing a ridiculous, Mexican accent the whole time. He's literally bulging his eyes out as hard as he can every second of that movie. It's like he plays a human Lear. His performance in Anaconda is very fun.
Yeah. Pete, what say you, sir?
Very good points on both parts. It is a tricky situation, right? Because you get a bit of a twofer where you've got really the main villain who ends up being Voight, but you do have the lead who eventually turns out to be good, and you realize he wasn't as much of an antagonist as you once thought he was. But yeah, Voight is good. You got again. I had to look up his filmography while we were just chatting here, because I'm like, other than National Treasure, what do I know him from? That's his most iconic role for me. But I was coming across...
He created half of Angelina Jolie's genetic material.
Yeah, there's that.
But yeah, Anaconda, Pearl Harbor. There's a lot of stuff on here that I recognize that I kind of just forgot he was in.
Don't you?
I've seen Holes once.
I'm not a Holes apologist. There are people out there who live and die by that film.
Yeah.
And I've seen it maybe twice, probably both when I had the stomach flu, and I was like, I just need something to put on and watch. But yeah, Sigourney Weaver, Shia LaBeouf, Tim Blake Nelson, Holes is a great film, but yeah, I don't understand the Holes craze.
Mm-hmm.
Holes mania has gripped the nation, and we are back.
Yeah. I guess it was an amazing book or something, and then people just got
I think the book fueled that.
Yeah,
and Shia LaBeouf, right? Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
The guy's a little crazy. He's had some legal trouble. He might not be the easiest guy in the world to work with, but I'll tell you what. When I first got Disney Plus, the first thing that I went to was some old school Even Stevens. Set me up, man.
Yeah.
He should get his career back on track for making Holes 2. The people are ready. They need to know, are there going to be more Holes?
Yeah. But yeah, villain. I aimed it more at Voight. I gave it a 6 out of 10. It was fine. All the points you guys highlighted were great. And he was fine in it. The one thing that I'm curious, and I'm not here to throw stones, I'm just curious. I'll ask it rhetorically. Actually, I won't even ask it rhetorically. There was a bit of an age difference between this character and his wife or his romantic interest. There was
okay. Back up.
Let me finish. I'm just saying. He at the time of filming, Voight was 58, and Emmanuel was 33. So there's a bit of an age difference there.
He's a villain, Pete. He doesn't adhere to your moral standards about how old his wife should be.
Yeah. I mean, you see that all the time, though, right?
I know you see it all the time, but I'm just looking at it. I'm like, really? Tom Cruise?
Let me look this up. How old?
When you look like Jon Voight, you're beating the ladies off with a stick.
Are you, though? Because I'm looking and I'm saying...
Yeah, he's got a pretty...
She's choosing between a 50-year-old Voight and Tom Cruise. I don't know. I'm a happily married man, but I'm just saying Tom Cruise was a looker. That's what I've heard. That's what people have told me. And
you know what? David Letterman is a 75-year-old man with a 19-year-old son. Actually, wait, to take it one step further.
He's not dating his son, is he?
No, but clearly his wife was some degree younger than he. The other one that's got like a shockingly young wife and just had kids.
Oh,
is,
yeah.
Hang on.
I feel like you're going to say it, and I'm going to say, yeah.
So he's got 3 kids? Yeah, so one from a previous wife. So Billy Joel, the singer who we all know and love, the Piano Man.
Yeah.
He has a daughter who's 36. So, okay, he's 73. She's 36. I mean, he was getting
40.
up there when he had a kid, but, he's also got a 5 and a 7-year-old.
Oh, dang. Wow.
Which I think is fantastic only because, listen, if you're 73 and you have a 5-year-old, you know what you're not going to do? Pay for college.
Well.
Oh, you'll pay. You won't be around, but you'll pay.
Oh, anyway, I didn't want to throw stones down this rabbit hole. I just wanted to point out my eyebrow was raised, not necessarily in judgment, but out of question. Going, really, Claire? You really have what do you see in this guy other than maybe his pocketbook? I don't know. 6 out of 10. Love him, and I love Agent Eugene as well, as Zach pointed out. It was a kind of unique category where, for part of the film, we had one who we thought was the villain, and then it turned out being another.
In trying to figure out what Claire saw in him, I was about to Google, is John Voight hung like a horse? But then I realized that was not a search result. That's not search history that I need.
No, definitely not.
That's a side of Reddit that I like to avoid.
They'll probably call you for the January 6th commission for that one.
Yeah. Speaking of gadgets.
Speaking of John Voight's oversized gadget. No, so I gave gadgets an 8. Listen,
8
was something I'm
8?
Yeah, so bear with me.
Wow.
So something I'm because I'm including a couple of things and gadgets that I think you could have maybe included in Fights in Action.
Oh, okay.
Also because I feel like whereas often a criticism of mine in the 007 series, because every so often they'd be like, oh, we're going to take 007 a little more seriously. We're going to make him a little more grounded. We're going to take away some of the ridiculous, machine guns and the Aston Martin and stuff like that. That was always a criticism of mine because I was like, look, I grew up playing the 007 video games, Nightfire and stuff like that. And what I wanted in my 007 films was laser watches and remote this and, whatever else.
Yep.
And so in the area in which 007 let me down occasionally with gadgets, I foresee Mission Impossible being like gadget pornography. Just this great collection of ridiculous stuff. And so, first of all, we've got the exploding gum. That if that's not straight out of Q's laboratory, I don't know what is, right? That is top-notch, secret agent. You've got this guy. It's like Agent Cody Banks level stuff, right? Or Spy Kids, right? It's like you take the gum, you mix it together, and it's going to go boom. That was fantastic. You've got some more subtle stuff, right? You've got some of the hacking that goes on. You've got the signal jammer when they're on the what is it, a train? Yeah, on the train, the signal jammer. So stuff like that. You've got all of those things. But what I'm including in gadgets, which could have bumped this up to a 9 or a 10, that you could also include in Fights in Action, but I'm choosing to include it in gadgets because it is technically the utilization of a gadget. How many movies and TV shows have you seen that spoof, utilize, rip off, make reference to Tom Cruise rappelling down from the ceiling, not being able to sweat, not being able to. I think Inspector Gadget even spoofed this. Like it is, that scene is Hollywood spy movie royalty. In the pen that injects the extreme laxative into the guy's coffee, and then
I was worried you were not going to talk about the pen. The pen is maybe it's like a little squirt gun, goes into his coffee.
It's nothing something that a kid, you could probably pick up something like that now on Amazon for like $10. But
and it makes you puke.
But it was that scene of the rappelling down. He's got the sound meter on his wrist. He's got it is just spy gadget, even though it's nothing fancy, right? It's literally just like a rappel harness. But the maneuver that he does, and the flipping right side up, and then the tension of when the rat comes along and he drops an inch and a half from the floor, and again, could be involved in the action part of this analysis, but with such a strong utilization of gadgets and what he was doing, that I can't help but that scene alone propels this, because it is, like I said, it is the gold standard. That scene is spoofed the same way that a horror film parody would spoof puking green soup. It has just become, or pea soup. It has just become so synonymous with the spy world that there's a heist, you're going in for something, you rappel from the ceiling, you can't make any noise, you gotta wipe your sweat because your sweat can't hit the ground. It is... Like I said, it's Hollywood gadget royalty. So for me, it is firmly an 8 out of 10.
Respectable.
Yeah. Brady covered a lot of the gadgets. I'm going to even go a little bit further. Look, I don't actually, if I have questions about your rubric, I don't necessarily think gadgets should be weighed the same as Tom Cruise's performance or the plot, but these are good gadgets. I think Mission Impossible is kind of the gold standard in some ways for silly Hollywood spy gadgets.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah, it is. So, you've got recordings self-destruct after 5 seconds.
Oh, yes.
What better gadget? Yes, you've got that weird little thing where he unscrews the payphone and puts some weird guy and then can talk to his boss. That's good too. I don't know what's going on there, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like Get Smart with the shoe phone. It's just it is. Oh, it's so good.
It's all sorts of a little bit of business. They got floppy disk, a lot of floppy disk action in this film. More of a less of a cool spy gadget, but fun to see, very retro. And yes, the whole. I would maybe cover it a little more under the action category, but the Langley heist sequence, they're like, so there's this laser grid we have to get through, and this vent we have to open, and they don't really go into how they're going to do that, and then they just go there, and then they've got this crazy mirror vent opener that they're never explain how they got or where it came from. Right. They slide it in, open the vent. I'm like, okay, I guess that's how you do that. No further questions. And then they do little things they dress up in outfits and squirt puke juice in people's coffee. It's good.
Oh, even the you have to include the masks, the disguises, which is true. It's one of those things like that when he takes the mask off in the beginning. That's so cheesy and ridiculous, and you're like, oh, come on, but you accept it because it's Mission Impossible. You just accept it. You don't go, oh, this is a demerit. You just look at it and you go, that is espionage 10 plus.
They've got perfect mask technology. I also like that they basically save the big reveal where it's taking off the perfect John Voight mask for the end. And for the beginning, they do this weird thing where they have Tom Cruise in heavy makeup play a senator so that he can then also play the character he's pretending to be, which is a funny bit. And then so they don't really, if you've seen the television show, which I haven't really, the masks are like a big thing, and so you would be kind of waiting, well, when are they going to actually do the mask? So the big reveal that, he's pretending to be Jon Voight is a very cool effect. They don't really do anything with it because, basically, everything plays out how, what if he hadn't done that, basically immediately afterwards. But it's a cool effect. There's, it's good, fun pop spycraft. So I'm going to give the gadgets a 9 out of 10.
Good golly.
Very.
Yeah, I think they're iconic gadgets.
You're not wrong. I'm feeling some regret. I feel I scored this category a little too hard. Unlike you guys, think there's some room for improvement as we go on in these films. I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
And
middle of the road.
I'm having a bit of regret because the more I'm talking about it, I think I
Mission Impossible.
I feel I should have just embraced more some of the nostalgic aspects. And I think the reason I was so hard on it was I went down the list and I said floppy disks, big deal. I went payphones, big deal. I went internet chat rooms in 1996, big deal. But there are incredible ones you guys highlighted, but the ones that were great for me was the gum, the explosive gum, the things that you can literally buy nowadays, but the video Ray-Bans or the video glasses that they had. Like in 1996, that was incredible. And so, there were some good ones. And you can't say anything without talking about the ripping off the masks, which is just iconic. We've said it, all three of us, but it's important. So, I gave it a 5 out of 10. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. That part I'm sticking to. But I feel like I went a bit hard, but 5 is not a fail. It's still passable, or at least right in the middle. And again, I think as this series goes on, as we get into more 2000s and more modern day, I'm just, as it goes for action, as it goes for Tom Cruise, as it goes for gadgets, I'm very excited to see what comes.
All right. So we're already at an hour, so I'm going to rapid fire through this. So fights in action. I gave this a 6. Now listen, there isn't a lot of hand-to-hand combat. There's not a lot of gunplay. The action there that is there is good. I think the reason I gave this a 6, and I'm going to leave it at this because I don't have much more to say about it, honestly. The reason I gave it a 6 was because I have some idea of what's to come. So much like Zack graded on a curve earlier, as a standalone, if I was looking at just this film, which maybe I probably should have been, it might have been a little bit higher. But knowing that we've got this ridiculous, even having seen the trailer for part 1 of what's to come, I just know that it gets ridiculous. I know that he climbs on a plane as it's taking off. I know that they shot a scene where he jumps out of a plane and it's all like they've done a little bit of compositing in the storm and the sky, but this is actually him jumping out of a plane. I know that Tom Cruise broke his ankle or like snapped his foot doing a stunt and finished the shot. I know that it's going to get nuts and I'm looking forward to that. And so, knowing what's coming, the best I could give this category was a 6 out of 10. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit more generous, but I think you're look, there's no doubt that this becomes a great action franchise. And I would not say that this is a great action movie. I think Brian De Palma is a director who does suspense. He's enjoying getting to play with the toys of being able to have, a $60 or $70 million budget and being able to do some big stuff. But the great scene is the Langley heist, and that's not really an action scene. It's a suspense scene, right? He masterfully sets up that, if you make too much noise, if the room gets too hot, if, you touch anything on the floor, he sets it up really masterfully. he tracks everything with the rat and the drip of sweat, through that whole sequence. It's really brilliant. It's really thrilling. It's, I think that is a 10 out of 10 iconic movie scene, as Brady says. And the rest of the film is good. I like the sequence at the end, but there's just the train sequence is, it's a big audacious Hollywood thing where, a helicopter gets hooked to a bullet train and flies through a tunnel. I don't want to understate that. That's pretty cool. But there's, the thing is, that's clearly, on a soundstage with wind machines, and there's no doubt if Tom Cruise had made that 15 years later, he would have been on a real bullet train with a real helicopter, and it would have looked a lot cooler. It would have been a bigger sequence. And there's the series will go on to have some really good hand-to-hand combat, and that's just not in this film. So I will give it a 7, with the caveat that I think at this point with this director, they're more aiming for, suspense and thrills than they are for pure, balletic Hong Kong action filmmaking, which I don't really love Mission Impossible 2, but you get some more of the John Woo is John Woo and hypes that up in the next level. The motorcycle sequences in that film are really practical and cool, even if the plot is silly nonsense. I'm going to go with a 7 for fights and action because I think this is the Mission Impossibles are competing with the John Wick movies for the great American action franchise, and there's no doubt in terms of spectacle that Mission Impossible can't really be beat. So this series is going to go to some crazy places. This is like a little aperitif for where they're going. It's gonna get so crazy.
Yeah, not much to add. I love the iconic Langley scene, and I think that's a really good point you make, Zach, that it is almost more of a drama or a suspense sequence versus just an action fight sequence, but it's iconic nonetheless. And I gave it an 8 out of 10 fights in action. I was feeling generous. And I agree, the CGI train sequence for me doesn't age quite well, but I was lenient on it. I let that go. I think just some of the fights and action sequences we'll get in the future will be higher than an 8, which is incredible. But I thought it was still a fun ride, and even though the final sequence was a bit CGI, little hokey, I was able to look past that.
Cool. Romantic interest. I gave this a 7, and listen, the reason I gave this a 7 was very simple. They didn't lean too heavily into it, and I really didn't want them to.
Yep.
I felt like it didn't need it. This wasn't a James Bond film. I don't need to see him fornicating on a boat as the movie ends.
Yeah, I don't want to see Ethan Hunt have sex in a movie. I need him to be fundamentally a sexless creature who, gets his thrills from jumping off large buildings.
Exactly. Exactly. Right? He's what is it, asexual, where you're just not all that interested? Yeah.
He's just he's attracted to jumping off out of airplanes. That's his sexuality.
So there was some romance, and I didn't super buy it, and but you do buy it towards the end once you realize that Claire's in on everything. At first, when it first starts happening, I'm like, wow, you moved on fast. Your husband died. But when you realize he didn't actually die, and she's maybe not the best actress, not the actress that plays her, but Claire herself is not selling it super well. But they didn't lean too heavily into it. And that was the most important thing for me, because I was like, not that I'm, one of my favorite films of all time is Titanic, and I love the romance that's in that. This isn't a my interest in films type of thing, because I love a good romance. But it was a layer that the film didn't need, and I think they were aware of that, and so I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Respectable.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little harder. I'm going to give it a 5. I think the romance is the weakest part of the film for me. I just think Emmanuel Barrett and Tom Cruise, I'm not sure whose fault it is, but they don't have chemistry. It's supposed to be this, it's supposed to be this whole thing where he's like, the only reason he's stringing this out is because he just can't believe that Claire would betray him. Like, he clearly is supposed to have feelings from. There's supposed to be like this sexual tension, where, you know, like in the scene where he's like, you know, he's like looking for a recording device in her body, and it just feels awkward and horrible. He like pushes her down on the bed. Yeah. You never, you know, I think they wisely shied away from it. There's clearly supposed to be this sort of dynamic where, but, you know, this love triangle between like her and Cruz, and it doesn't really play. You understand from like a script level that it's supposed to be there, but you never feel that he's particularly drawn to her or her to him. She's an interesting choice. She didn't make a ton of, Emmanuelle Béart did not make a ton of Hollywood films. She's more of a French art house actor. The thing I know her from is a 3-hour film called La Belle Noiseuse. Sorry for my terrible French accent, but look, this is a family pod. She's very good in it. She is literally naked, basically, for the entirety of a 3-hour film. So, you know, family podcast, but she's a very beautiful woman. But she gives a great, you know, actually performance in that film and in a lot of other European stuff. I think she's a little lost in a Hollywood movie, and she's getting, you know, I think Cruz's charisma is blasting her off the screen a little bit. You want that character to feel more like a femme fatale, and, you know, the question of will she betray him, will she not? You know, and it's, you know, she's not bad. She's a, you know, totally serviceable, but you want and this will be something that plays across in a lot of Mission Impossible movies, you want the female love interest to be a little more of an equal for Cruz. That doesn't really happen till late in the series, and when it does, it kind of finally clicks in, and you have some pretty, you know, you have some fits and starts until they get there. So I'm going to give it a 5. They were wise to sort of downplay it, but it does feel like that should be more of an element in the movie, and clearly they, you know, it just wasn't compelling on screen. They could go there.
Interesting. Yeah, I gave romantic interest a 6 out of 10. It was fine. It was adequate. I agree. I don't think I needed to see them together. Their chemistry was a little lacking. The only thing, you know, I just put a question mark under this category. I was just like, it was fine. I don't have a whole lot to say. The only thing I will bring up, and I brought it up before, but there was that point where Tom and John Voight were chatting, and at that point we didn't realize who was doing what as far as the double crossing and what was all done. But John Voight mentioned, oh my gosh, I was sitting in a coffee shop and I saw her there, and she had to put on a brave face. She had to move on. She had to get the job done. And I was like, yeah, but also you're like 3 times her age, so maybe she just wasn't that heartbroken that you got off. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't buy the relationship. That's all I'm going to say. But as far as the relationship between her and Tom, 6 out of 10. It was fine.
All right. Supporting characters. I gave this a 6, which may seem low.
That does.
And don't get me wrong. Wow. I loved several, like, you know, Krieger is great. I like him. Every time that what's his name? Jean Reno shows up.
The most French-looking man ever, Jean Reno.
Oh, we're like, we need a French guy for this film. Well, we know who to get, right? And everything from Da Vinci Code to, wasn't he in the at least one of the Pink Panther movies?
That sounds
familiar. I believe so. I mean, he's Leon, the professional.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So he's fantastic in everything. So don't get me wrong. I loved him. I loved Luther.
Oh, hold the phone. He plays the voice of Shadow in Homeward Bound.
Yep. No.
My goodness.
No.
Sorry. The French. The French dub. My bad. It's
okay. He's
Good Lord.
I was just.
Yeah, I would have remembered. I mean, I haven't seen that movie in a while, but I feel like I would have remembered if for some reason the main character, like the old dog, was like extremely French. That would have been like a choice that I feel I would have resonated more with me.
That was a situation where my eyes were reading something, but my brain wasn't thinking about it. Where I was going, That voice doesn't check out, but it says it right here.
Pete, I think I
who
speak
knows?
for
He's been
everyone.
sitting on He's been sitting on an incredible American accent the whole time.
I think I speak for everyone when I say sit down and shut up. No, so Claire and Kittredge and all of these people, Max, fantastic. The reason why I gave it a 6 out of 10 is because you don't dish out the cash for Emilio Estevez and then kill him in the first 20 minutes. There were members of that initial team, specifically Emilio Estevez and Kristen Scott Thomas's character, Sarah, I think, who I was already invested. I was like, oh yeah, okay, Emilio Estevez is this like sassy hacker who's like, wow, I guess I'm not wearing my tux, and like, I was like, I was excited for them. I was like, ooh, this is fun. Emilio Estevez is in this. And then I was like, well, but is he? Like, is he really in this movie? So I gave it a 6 out of 10 only because, I get it. These people needed to die and they killed them off for the plot, and it was an important plot device. But I would have rather, I didn't need to be invested in the initial team in order to empathize or sympathize with Ethan's loss. And so I think I would have rather the initial team be killed off by people names I didn't know, right? Whereas, I know that coming up in some sort of supporting role, I don't know, and don't spoil it for me, Zach. I don't know if it's similar to Emilio Estevez's role or what it is. I know I'm going to get a heavy Simon Pegg presence in Mission Impossible, and I'm looking forward to that. But I had that same sort of fun, I didn't know Emilio was in this, and so when I saw him, I was like, all right, the respectable Sheen brother, here we go. Let's get it done. And then he dies so quick in a pretty gruesome way. And so I was just like, I gave it a 6 out of 10 only because there were characters who, the characters that stick around. Every supporting character that is in this, I think, is fantastic. There was just some that I wish I had gotten some more of. So I rated it a little lower, 6 out of 10.
Cool.
I'm gonna give it an 8. Look, I think, for one, I think that, casting Estevez and Kristen Scott Thomas, KSR, as I'll call her from here on out, works in the film's favor because it makes you think that they're not going to kill these characters because, they're played by actors we know and love. I think that works. It makes the opening sequence play out as a big twist where it's like, much like Ethan Hunt, your footing is taken out from under you because you thought you were going to have all these people a lot longer than you do. So I think that's smart casting. I think the film is just filled. They basically went and got the best possible character actors to fill the part because it's a Tom Cruise movie with a big budget. So you can afford Jean Reno and Ving Rhames for these parts. You can get Harry Sterney. You can get Vanessa Redgrave, a legend of the British stage, to do a relatively small part and be very fun in that part. It's a great cast. They all pull off the little things they're asked to do, and you gotta give some credit to Rhames as Luther, especially because he's going to be the only other person besides Tom Cruise to appear in all these films. And I think that character is interesting. I always like Rhames. I'm glad this has sort of sustained his Hollywood career. I think he gets a lot better in the part. I also think something for you to track as you watch the rest of the films. I think his head gets a lot bigger as he ages. His hats keep getting tinier. His head keeps getting bigger. I'm having a good time with it, but that character is weirdly becomes sort of the emotional anchor of the whole franchise, and we get to meet him here, and It's another thing to track across the finish. So, I mean, I just think it's a great 90s cast where you have ridiculously overqualified actors in small parts. And that's fun. I love it when, you can afford to do that because your film is led by Tom Cruise. So, and, I think you get the value for having, a Ving Rhames and a Jean Reno and a Vanessa Redgrave just popping up for a couple seasons.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Before I go on, Jean Reno has a very established French dub filmography here. He's Mufasa, he's in Homeward Bound, he's in Atlantis, very respectable French dub filmography here. But supporting characters, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I was enthralled by it. I feel like the amount that this was in the film, it was a supporting character. We've got indoor smoking in the 90s. But carry over from our most recent episode of reviewing Pulp Fiction, we've got Marcellus Wallace back in town. I appreciated Luther as well. Emilio Estevez, you know what, I wasn't as hurt. I understand the disappointment that he was gone and very little screen time, but I did appreciate his presence. And Dame Vanessa Redgrave, although a small part, was great as Max. And she was partners with Timothy Dalton for about 15 years. So the James Bond connection there, they were a thing. But an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed the supporting characters in this. And I was so happy to see that Ving Rhames is back. And he's not only back sporadically, he seems to be in every single Mission Impossible film. So I'm excited to grow with him and Tom Cruise. And 8 out of 10 for supporting characters.
I did enjoy that they were disavowed operatives. That they were all people who were in a similar boat, more or less. That was that was fun.
And that's another good thing to track across the franchise. It's really funny that Tom Cruise is basically never just doing impossible missions. He is constantly getting disavowed by the IMF. That is, they have a very love-hate relationship with the organization that employs him. He seems to do his best work when they have kicked him out and are hunting him across Europe.
Yeah. Okay, so final category, intro sequence. I gave this an 8 out of 10. This is quintessential Mission Impossible. It starts out, as far as I understand it, you don't really know what's going on. The mask getting taken off is as big a reveal to us as it's supposed to be. It's just so fun. And there was something about, having never really watched the Mission Impossible franchise, but, you're living under a rock if you don't know the song. To have this opening sequence with we've basically chemically killed her and we're going to bring her back and all of this, we're getting the information out and take the mask off. And did we get it? Yeah, we got it. And and then the music starts, and it was the same response in me when the 007 thing starts. It was almost, but not quite the same response when you're sitting in the theater and you see the blue text that says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then the music hits and all of the hairs on your arms stand up because something, no matter how bad this is, something special is about to happen. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I had no complaints. It was fun. It was irrelevant to the rest of the story, but it perfectly set up the world with which we're playing in. So 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7. I think it's a little. I think it's intentionally sort of placing you back on your heels. It's a little confusing. It's you're sitting sort of weirdly far back from the action, and you're not sure who these people are and what's going on. It's a good little disorientation, and then of course they kick into the theme song, which is incredible. But it's weirdly, I think the end note where they're sort of hitting the cruise Barrett thing, and it doesn't. You're totally doesn't totally work. What's the relationship between these people? It never quite tracks, but I like it. It sets up that how this team that's going to get mostly brutally murdered works. And if you're not familiar with the Mission Impossible concept, they give you the mask, they give you spycraft and all that. So it's good, and of course the theme 10 out of 10 iconic. It's a great kick to credits. And plus, if I give it a 7, it's going to allow me to get the average that I want at the end of this. So I'm cheating. This just.
I give it a 5 out of 10. This sequence, I've seen this film. This is the only film that I had seen prior to this review, and of the Mission Impossible series. And, maybe the shock and awe was kind of worn off on me, and I was just kind of over it. It's fine. It's an interrogation scene. It's great. It's got an iconic mask reveal and what's going on. Nothing wrong about it. I think it's just lost its shine on me. And the introductory music is great. I preferred the closing out music more preferably, actually, to be honest. I found the intro a little too flashy, a little too chaotic, a little bit too 1990s and choppy. So the intro was fine. But again, like everything I'm assuming is going to happen, I think the hooks going forward will be a bit better in my book. So I gave this a 5 out of 10.
All right, the moment we're waiting for.
National Treasure 3.
Yeah, if I take all of my numbers and I total them up, and then I divide them by 8, which for those at home is how you get an average. Not always 8. Anyways,
yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, figure out how, if you take your number. Anyways, I gave Mission Impossible number 1 by default, by virtue of the scores that I gave it, gives it a 7.25, which I think is respectable and is kind of right in line with what I would have given it, I think, had I had the free will to do so. So just once again proving the validity of our ranking system. Zach, how do you rank Mission Impossible?
I mean, if I'm being really technical, I give it a 7.06. We'll call that a 7. I guess you can call it a 7.1 if you're rounding this point. It's not important. 7, I think this is sort of an interesting relic. The franchise goes in a very different direction. This is definitely not my favorite movie in the franchise. I would probably rank it 5th of the 6. I do like it. I'm very fond of Brian De Palma. This is basically him at the end of his run as a really good director, I think. But I would look if listeners want to check out some of his other films. Outside the big ones like Scarface and Carrie. Blowout is a really incredible thriller, and Body Double is also very good, if somewhat perverted as he often is. So I would recommend. It's a nice little part of the Brian De Palma oeuvre. It's nice to see him get to work with a big budget. It's nice to see him work with a big star like Tom Cruise, and it is also like the start of a new era for Tom Cruise. I mean, this is sort of where he latches into franchise filmmaking, which will eventually, allow him to be a movie star in his 60s, which sustains him after some dark period. His career goes through some ebbs and flows after this, This catches him at an interesting time at the biggest, basically the biggest a movie star could be in the 90s. He made this big hit this year, and he got nominated for an Oscar for Jerry Maguire, so he's kind of top of the world. And then the Tom Cruise image is going to sort of become a little bit scuffed up, he uses this franchise to crawl out of that hole in an interesting way. So I like this as the starting point. I like this as an interesting point in the Chris' Two Men. it is very 90s. It has its, pacing problems and all that. And you can't help think in some of the sequences how much bigger and better this franchise is going to get. But, don't discount a very well-made thriller. You get so few of them.
Very fair. I gave it a 6 out of 10. So, you know what? A 3 out of 5, a 6 out of 10, depending on how you cut it. And I think it's an appreciation for starting this series and an anticipation and an excitement of things to come. So it's, again, the obligatory, if you got to watch them in order. You got to see where it comes from to where it's going to go. And I don't regret watching the first one, but I can already say with, I think, pretty certain confidence, I don't think this will be my favorite. And a 6 out of 10 is what it got.
Well, all right. Pete, sir, can you wrap this up for us?
I absolutely can. Well, first of all, thank you, Zack, for joining us. A long time coming. You even got your Last Jedi comments in there, and that's great. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining the show, kickstarting our Mission Impossible series, and being a fantastic guest.
Thank you. It was great. It was a lot of fun. I'm sure. I feel like I pushed you guys to longer than your usual episode, so I'm sorry. I got a lot of fun about Mission Impossible.
This is pretty average for us if we have a guest.
Good.
Yeah, that's all right. But yes, thank you for joining us, Zack. And thank you to the listener for joining us. Thank you for listening, whether you're a fan of Zack, a fan of Tom Cruise, a fan of Mission Impossible, or a fan of all those things. For whatever reason that you tuned in, thank you.
So, like my wife.
More so on the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible for her, but...
of course, yeah.
No. Check out our socials below. Like, follow, subscribe. Give us a good rate and review. And check out our Patreon page if you're so inclined. You can help support the show, help pay the bills as it is coal burning season, or keeping the house warm. The winter is upon us. And check out our socials for updates and news of things to come. Upcoming episodes. Stay tuned. We've got some fun things coming. And until next time, when we talk about that thing, that is the thing we'll talk about.
This podcast will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3, 2.